Well, following an unexpected turn of events on day 2 of free agency, simply the morning of day 2 of free agency, pretty much being entirely from the Milwaukee Bucks here, them outright waiving Damian Lillard, yes, waiving him, then signing Miles Turner thereafter, and therefore finding their center of the future and what they put all that money toward, this may have indirectly set the stage for the Lakers to make their next move. I mean, if you didn't know, the Bucks were the only other team that were really interested and were a quote-unquote serious suitor for Deandre Ayton, that being from Bobby Marks of ESPN. So now with them having found their center and therefore put their money toward that center, again Miles Turner, that kind of only leaves one team left for Deandre Ayton here, that being your very own LA Lakers. Now maybe there might be a dark horse team that comes out of nowhere that he might be thinking about, that might offer him a better contract, as the Lakers did decrease the money they can offer him following them signing Jake LaRavia, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But in regard to fit, and then what Deandre Ayton himself is kind of hinting at here, with a picture they posted to his Instagram story earlier today, I mean, take that with a massive grain of salt, but could be yet another hint with him joining their team. And then with reports saying that he wants to join a quote-unquote winning situation, that's another hint. The Lakers are trying to be that, and were the 3rd seed last season after all, pairing him with a great fit like Luka Doncic, both in regard to the playmaking and lob threat connection, the timeline between both of them. They're both 26 at the moment, LeBron obviously being there, Austin Reeves being there, plenty of playmakers to put around him, and simply put, a great situation for him to join into and get plenty of playing time there too, as the Lakers currently don't have a center on their team, not a starter or a backup that's a true center quote unquote. So with that in mind here, is it all but certain that Deandre Ayton will be a Laker, or is there maybe one stipulation holding it back and that's why we have not heard about it quite yet? We'll talk about that, the Lakers' target or targets after Deandre Ayton, a name we've heard linked to their team and what reports are saying about their team, and then simply about the next moves that I think they should make too. So without further ado here, let's dive right into it, and beginning with what we know and currently don't know about Deandre Ayton. Like I said, I think it's very important that Milwaukee's off the board for him. They've filled their center spot, they've signed Miles Turner, and therefore are not looking at Deandre Ayton anymore. And with that being the only other serious candidate to sign him in free agency, the only other team that would make cap room for him, and which they did by waiving Damian Lillard, they're off the board and no longer a serious player and rival to the Lakers to pick up Ayton. So that's definitely important here in my opinion, arguably the biggest update we have gotten about it, and for why Deandre Ayton is not signed with them yet, I think he was looking at maybe a different team, and if a different team could offer him a similar role and a similar contract, that would kind of make up for what he lost in the contract buyout. But now with the Bucks being off the board here, that really does point to the Lakers as the last team left with the fit, the playing time, the contract, and overall the situation that Deandre Ayton is apparently looking for. So in my opinion, barring an unexpected dark horse coming out of nowhere and offering him a better fit, better situation and contract, I think the Lakers are the clear and obvious choice for him to pick here. It's simply a matter of time. Which, if you're not aware, he does have to wait until tomorrow to make that official signing. He's not off waivers until tomorrow on Wednesday, so he does have to wait until that point. Yes, he could announce, or his agent and the Lakers could announce that he's picking them, but until that point, he can't officially sign, so he's taking that time to figure out if it's the Lakers, or maybe an unexpected team that would offer him a better fit, better contract again, and all that stuff. But if you ask me, following the Bucks being taken off the board here and them being the Lakers' only other rival to sign Deandre Ayton, at least according to reports, the Lakers are now the definitive favorite to sign Deandre Ayton. And yes, even with them splitting up their full mid-level exception to sign Jake LaRavia, using roughly $5.8 million of it to sign Jake LaRavia per reports, that being a 2-year contract worth $12 million, completely guaranteed by the way, I think they're still the favorites to sign Ayton. Even with him taking kind of a $2 million discount to sign with them, he did lose roughly $10 million from the contract buyout, so wouldn't completely replenish what he lost in that contract buyout. Pretty close, but not entirely here, giving him roughly all but $2.5 million of it, all but $2.5 million of a $35 million contract, so I think he can live without it, even though he's probably still wanting it and would ideally like to have it. I mean, we're talking about $2 million here, so I can't blame the guy. But even with that, I think it's worth it, and he probably does too if he's in fact trying to join a winning situation, which he is according to Shams Charania here, so putting some of that money toward a player like Jake LaRavia, trying to strengthen their rotation, and replacing a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith should technically be a good thing if he is trying to do what's better for the team here and give them a better chance of winning. And on the topic of replacing Dorian Finney-Smith and trying to make the money work post Dorian Finney-Smith, it definitely is a difficult thing, but I do see what they're trying to do here with it. Following Finney-Smith leaving, that put them roughly $19.7 million below the first apron, which they do in fact have to stay under now that they use a portion of their full mid-level exception, and likely are going to use the entirety of it when they sign Deandre Ayton, if and when of course. But following them signing Jake LaRavia, that pushed it then to roughly $13 million below the first apron, and if they would then sign Deandre Ayton with the remainder of that full mid-level exception, again being worth roughly $8.3 million, that would then put them $5.5 million below that first apron, which would theoretically be enough to then use their biannual exception, worth roughly $5.1 million next season. That's another contract they could put toward a free agent and get a pretty quality free agent, somebody above a veteran minimum exception value, maybe a guy like Deandre Melton for example. We'll talk about him in a bit, but they have been linked to him, and that would give them another option in free agency. But it would push them dangerously close to that first apron. If they would use their biannual, then they would be roughly $400K beneath that first apron, and that's definitely pushing it. Though they do have a way around it and a way to get further from it. Either by number one, waiving Shake Milton, the completely non-guaranteed contract of Shake Milton, only worth $3 million but definitely would give them a bit more leeway, or then taking a bit more volatile approach and a bit more hardcore approach to it, they could salary dump either Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber. You know, not a big fan of doing that, as I would like to use their salary in a bigger trade here, either for a guy like Andrew Wiggins or somebody like that for example. I'd rather do that than simply salary dump them, but it could be another option for them. If they want to go that route, they could then use the entirety of both their full mid-level and their full biannual exception, and then not have to worry about the first apron either. And let's say they go that route, either waiving Shake Milton or again taking the hardcore approach by salary dumping Vincent or Maxi Kleber. Whatever it is here, they then could use their biannual exception, which would give them a valuable contract to put toward a quality free agent here, which according to reports might be a guy like Deandre Melton. I mean, I'd rather get him for a veteran minimum, which I think is a possibility, following him tearing his ACL and coming off an ACL recovery, only playing 6 games last season for Golden State, only playing 38 prior to that one in 2023-24. I think he is more in that borderline veteran minimum level rather than a biannual level. Though he is only 27 here, is a quality point of attack defender, and that's something I think is guaranteed whether or not he gets back to form immediately, primarily on offense here. But he definitely is a very good 3-and-D guard, can do everything from, again, being a very good point of attack defender, is a good 3-point shooter, roughly a 37% career 3-point shooter, even better from the corner, shooting roughly 42% on his career on corner 3-point shots, so that would be a pretty good fit with LeBron, Luka, and Austin. Them dishing it out to him in the corner or on the wing is a very good and efficient catch and shoot option. Or even apart from that, is a pretty talented offensive player in general, averaging roughly 10.5 points per game in the past 4 years combined now, only in roughly 25 minutes per game, is a high volume 3-point shooter, taking roughly 5.5 of them per game in that time frame, and would simply give them a jolt on offense and then defense to that fact too. Very good defensive playmaker, aka getting in passing lanes and being a defensive pest out there, having a career average of 1.4 steals per game, yes per game not per 36, averaging 1.4 in only 23 minutes per game on his career, and if you want to translate that to per 36, the guy is over 2 steals per 36 minutes. So yeah, definitely a good defensive playmaker, definitely a good passing lane pest and overall defensive pest, very pesky defender, good point of attack defender, and a good 3-and-D option in general if he can stay healthy, which definitely is a pretty big disclaimer here. So whether it be for a veteran minimum contract, again that would be my preferred route here, maybe the biannual exception if he has other teams that want him and if he would get into a bidding war, then maybe. But like I said, he has been linked to their team, both by Mark Stein and Jake Fisher, so I think they are in fact looking at him. Though if it's not Deandre Melton and if he would sign to a different team, what other option is currently on the open market that might be worth that biannual exception? Well, I kind of talked about it during my last video, talking about purely center targets or power forward center hybrid targets, who they could then make their backup behind Deandre Ayton, and there are a few left that might be worth that. One of which being a guy like Larry Nance Jr. for example, former Laker Larry Nance. I'd definitely like to see him come back to their team. Would be a very good option for their backup center at times, and even at power forward at times too. Again, more so that hybrid power forward center big, not a true center option I guess, but you know, is better on defense than a lot of the true centers quote unquote out there. So I definitely would be open to Larry Nance, offering them both some rim protection, good switchable defense, even being a decent lob threat that's 6'8", 6'9", a little bit of 3-point shooting with it. I definitely would like him, and he does have background playing with a guy like LeBron too, so I think it would be a really good fit. But if they can't get Larry Nance and also can't get De'Anthony Melton, then maybe going with a guy like Gary Payton II for example. Much like Melton, is a very good point of attack defender, also is a decent 3-and-D option, albeit a lower volume 3-point shooter, also might be a product of Golden State's offense a bit, so keep that in mind here. But if we're talking about defense, no doubt about it with GP2, great point of attack defender, even scrappy and long enough to defend some smaller wing players, and he definitely has shown that in Golden State. Simply taking him away from Golden State, a rival contender team, so that might be valuable in itself. I definitely would think about it for Gary Payton if they can't get De'Anthony Melton, if they can't get Larry Nance Jr., or maybe even a guy like Chris Boucher could put him ahead of GP2. But there definitely are some candidates for their biannual exception here, offering them that $5 million contract amount, and gotta prioritize improving their defense here, either at the point of attack or directly at the rim for their team. Gotta target either a front court player or a direct point of attack defender in the backcourt. Can't really be something in between like with Jake LaRavia. Already did that and spent a pretty penny on him. You know, not too much money here, but kind of replacing Dorian Finney-Smith with him. They've already done that. Now trying to add more defense to, again, the point of attack or directly at the rim with a front court player, either a hybrid or a true center. The only problem being that the only true center left that might be worth that amount is Al Horford, who does happen to be 39. You know, maybe offer him that contract. I think Golden State themselves might be trying to offer him that and try to get him. But between, I guess, Al Horford, Larry Nance Jr., De'Anthony Melton, Gary Payton II, or Chris Boucher, those would be my biannual exception targets here, following them hopefully signing Deandre Ayton. And well, with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers situation with Deandre Ayton, post the Milwaukee Bucks signing Miles Turner and therefore kind of being out on Deandre Ayton? Do you think the Lakers are by far the favorites and the best situation for him, even with them kind of divvying up the contract between him potentially and then signing Jake LaRavia with it? Do you still think it'll happen? If it does happen, would you then look to sign a guy like De'Anthony Melton? Maybe a different player I brought up, or what would be your next moves post Deandre Ayton if they also get him as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.